Today on The World Today, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meets Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban as both countries sign civil nuclear agreement. Nigeria warns citizens against enlisting abroad amid reports of deaths in Ukraine war. Plus, family and supporters mark 2 years anniversary of Russian opposition Alexei Navalny's death. Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. Hungary and the United States have signed a civil nuclear energy cooperation agreement during a visit by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to Budapest. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said the agreement, together with a sanctions-related exemption granted by the U.S. administration, would strengthen Hungary's energy security and support its ability to provide competitively priced energy for households and industry. He adds that Hungary maintains an open and transparent approach with its partners, including the United States, and that any concerns can be addressed through direct dialogue. Meanwhile, Mr. Rubio said the nuclear agreement followed discussions held during a November meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Orban at the White House. He also confirmed that Washington had suspended certain measures affecting Hungary, allowing further progress in bilateral energy cooperation. In the meantime, Mr. Rubio says Washington hopes ongoing talks with Iran will succeed, but admits striking a deal would not be easy. Speaking alongside the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Budapest, Mr. Rubio said Iran's leadership makes decisions based on what he describes as pure theology, arguing that this complicates diplomatic negotiations. He says doing a deal with Iran is not easy, but expressed hope that it will work out. A new round of negotiations is scheduled to take place in Geneva later this week. Mr. Rubio's remarks came during his visit to Hungary, where the United States and Hungary agreed on a civilian nuclear cooperation deal. His trip follows meetings in Slovakia with Prime Minister Robert Fico after addressing the Munich Security Conference.
Doing a deal with Iran is not easy. I said it yesterday, I'll repeat it again today. I mean, we have to understand that Iran ultimately is governed, and its decisions are governed by Shia clerics, radical Shia clerics, okay? These people make policy decisions on the basis of pure theology. That's how they make their decisions. So it's hard to do a deal with Iran. We've always said it's hard, but we're going to try. And that's what the president is trying. I'm not going to prejudge those talks. I'm certainly not going to negotiate with Iran here in front of the press and on the stage. Our negotiators are on their way there now. They'll have meetings. We'll see what happens. We're hopeful there's a deal. The president always prefers peaceful outcomes and negotiated outcomes to things. He's a president that's shown his willingness to talk to anyone and meet with anyone. And I think if there's an opportunity here to diplomatically reach an agreement that addresses the things we're concerned about, we will be very open and welcoming to that. But I don't want to overstate it either. It's going to be hard. I mean, we're dealing, it's been very difficult for anyone to do real deals with Iran because we're dealing with radical Shia clerics who are making theological decisions, not geopolitical ones. But let's see what happens. I hope it works out. We all hope it works out.
And on the war in Ukraine, U.S. Secretary of State Rubio also criticized elements within the international community whom he says are opposed to efforts to end that crisis. Speaking alongside the Hungarian Prime Minister yet again in Budapest, Mr. Rubio said it was unusual for a U.S. president to face criticism for pursuing peace. He notes that historically efforts to end wars are typically welcomed, but describes the Ukraine conflict as one of the few instances where some international actors have condemned attempts at mediation. According to him, Washington remains focused on bringing the war to an end.
We think it's a war that never should have happened and should end as soon as possible. That's how the president feels, and the president's invested a tremendous amount of time and political capital in trying to serve a useful purpose. Usually, in my time observing geopolitics, when a president tries to engage himself in peacemaking and in ending wars, that's usually applauded. So this is one of the few times, for a lot of different reasons, I don't know what they may be, but maybe I can speculate what they are, where people actually criticize a president trying to end a war. Usually when you're trying to end wars, the international community applauds you. This is one of the few wars I've ever seen where some people in the international community condemn you for trying to help end a war. But that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're going to continue to do as long as our role is and our engagement is a positive one. And hopefully the war will end. The sooner the better. It should have ended a long time ago. It should have never actually happened. This war should have never happened. This war would have never happened if Donald Trump had been president of the United States at the time it began. But that's what happened, and so now here we are. So we're going to continue to do everything we can to try to bring it to an end. And if we can be successful, I think the world will be a better place. And if we can't, then unfortunately the suffering and the dying and the killing will continue. And that's not good for anybody, but that's where we find ourselves. So hopefully we can stop it. But let's see.
Staying with the war in Ukraine, Nigeria's foreign ministry has issued an urgent warning over what it describes as a growing illegal recruitment of its citizens into foreign conflicts. The alert follows reports from Ukrainian officials who say the bodies of 2 Nigerians killed in combat last year were recently discovered. In a statement, spokesperson Kimebi Imotimi Ebienfa said that several Nigerians were misled with promises of lucrative jobs, security work, education or migration opportunities, only to be coerced into signing military contracts and deployed into active war zones. Officials say some victims signed documents in foreign languages without legal guidance, while others had their passports seized on arrival. Intermediaries also accused of facilitating travel on tourist or non-military visas. Ebienfa cautioned Nigerians against accepting such offers, emphasizing that they not only endanger lives, but it may also violate Nigerian and international laws concerning mercenary activities and foreign enlistment. The Nigerian government stated that it is working with local and international partners to investigate these cases and enhance public awareness. Elsewhere now, the Pretoria Magistrate Court has denied bail to 3 suspects linked to the brutal murder of a Nigerian e-hailing driver, Isaac Satlat. A week ago, the 22-year-old was strangled to death after the accused requested an e-hailing service from him. The crime was captured on the deceased's dash camera of the car he was driving. The police launched a probe after the disturbing social media video depicting the murder went viral, showing the final moments of the driver identified as Isaac Satlat. The trio now face hijacking and murder charges. His murder has sent shockwaves across the country and also his home country, Nigeria, leaving his family distraught and heartbroken. The family is now pleading for assistance to return his body home to Nigeria. Earlier on, I spoke with a spokesperson of Isaac Satlat's family who spoke on the devastation his death has caused.
The family is very broken. The father lives here in South Africa. So when it happens on Wednesday night, he had to go and see the body identified as his son in the mortuary on Thursday morning. And as soon as he identified his son, he was totally broken, and they had to admit him into a medical center because his blood pressure rose to about 238. So the family is totally broken. The dad hasn't watched the video yet, and he doesn't intend to watch the video. And it's definitely something that has really totally damaged them, and something that is, they're taking it very hard. And the family, the mother and the 2 siblings who are in Abuja, Nigeria, are also not really happy about it. They could not imagine that that could happen to their son. Somebody who is very sociable, relatable, deals with people very, very well. Isaac is not a violent person. He's just somebody who has a great future and is looking forward to it. But then sadly, we saw what happened from the video. I was in court, and there was a lot of support from local South Africans, certain political parties. They came to the court to support and sing and shout for justice for Isaac. The High Commissioner from Nigeria, Nigeria's High Commissioner was there, and also the Nigerian Union was also there. And as soon as we were sitting in court, 16 and the suspect came in, it really broke my heart. And to see that was totally like, why do you have to do that? A lot of some of his friends were crying in the courtroom, and they obviously were told what the charges are. So the family is very happy with the charges, especially the first charge, which is a premeditated murder, which in South Africa actually carries a life sentence, you know, without any hope of parole, because it was the murder was planned. It wasn't something that just happened as an accident. So the family was happy about it. After the court hearing, I went down to give feedback to the father and just to tell him what happened in court. And we're going to be back again on the 23rd of February to hear if they want to apply for bail or not. The High Commissioner was there at the court. We're not sure what they're planning to do. We're not sure what the South African government is planning to do. But from our side, because I'm also from Plateau State, which is Jos, and Isaac is from Pankshin local government in Jos, Plateau State, and we have an association of Plateau indigenes in South Africa. We've raised about 20,000 rands right now. And I also, myself, being the president of Plateau Indigenes in South Africa, I created a page, a fundraising page called Bakabadi. It's a South African page where you can raise funds. You know, it's very popular here. You can raise fund there. I created it on a Friday, and the target was 70,000 rand. And right now we are sitting on a little over 40, you know, in just like 3-4 days. So it's looking good. We received quotations from the funeral parlor. And the cost for repatriating his body.
Elsewhere, the Bondi Beach gunman Naveed Akram has appeared in court for the first time 2 months after one of Australia's worst mass shootings in nearly 30 years. The 24-year-old appeared via video link from prison in Sydney, facing 59 charges, including 15 counts of murder and 1 charge of committing a terrorist act. Prosecutors allege that Akram and his father, Sajid Akram, carried out the attack during a Hanukkah event at Bondi Beach on December 14, killing 15 people and injuring more than 40. His father was shot dead by police at the scene. During the brief hearing, Deputy Chief Magistrate Sharon Frond confirmed suppression orders remain in place to protect survivors' identities. Defense lawyer Ben Archbold says that it's too early to indicate what plea his client will enter. The mother of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, Ludmila, says the new findings confirm her belief that her son was murdered. While speaking at his graveside in Moscow on the second anniversary of his death, she said recent assessments by the UK and European allies alleging that he was killed using a poison derived from a dart frog toxin validated what the family had believed from the start. The joint statement claims only the Russian state had the means, motive and opportunity to deploy the substance. The Kremlin has rejected the accusation as biased and unfounded, with spokesman Dmitry Peskov dismissing the claims. Navalny's widow, Yulia, also marked the anniversary, vowing to continue the pursuit of justice. Navalny, a fierce critic of President Vladimir Putin, died at the age of 47 in a Siberian penal colony while serving a 19-year sentence on extremism charges. The United States Department of Justice says it has now released all documents required under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, but some lawmakers insist the disclosure does not go far enough. In a letter to Congress, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputy stated that all files in the department's possession have been made public, including a list of names appearing in the records. However, Kentucky Republican Representative Thomas Massey who co-authored the legislation, is calling for additional transparency. He's urging the Justice Department to release internal memos detailing past decisions on whether to bring charges against Jeffrey Epstein and his associates. Earlier this month, millions of pages linked to the late financier were made public. At the time, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said roughly 3 million pages were withheld due to sensitive medical records, graphic depictions of child abuse, and materials that could compromise ongoing investigations. Let's take a look at the African Union summit that concluded on Sunday. Leaders at the two-day meeting in Addis Ababa have adopted a resolution that described slavery, deportation, and colonialism as genocide and crimes against the people of Africa. AU Chairman Mahmoud Ali Yusuf says the African Union has always considered colonization, slavery, as a crime against humanity. Member states have agreed to designate November 30 as the African Day of Tribute to African martyrs and victims of the transatlantic slave trade, colonization, and apartheid. They said they would keep the issue under review and work together towards the recognition of the resolution at the international level.
This year, the conference has again, underscored the fact that we needed to make it in a declaration, and the declaration presented by Algeria has been endorsed. So it's very important to demonstrate that kind of commitment and determination to fight against all form of colonization on the continent, and I think this is something that is in line with the whole struggle for independence since the 60s, 50s, 60s, and then it is ongoing.
And in line with working towards international recognition, Ghana says it will be presenting the African Union resolution to the United Nations General Assembly later in the year and sees it as a crucial step towards reparations and formal apologies from nations that profited from the trade. President John Mahama says this is about setting the historical record straight, returning stolen artifacts from Africa during the pillaging that took place in the period of the slave trade. President Mahama also urged member states to establish national reparations commissions to engage directly with former colonial powers to push. The push has already gained traction beyond the continent, with support coming from Caribbean nations, Latin American allies, and from nations of the global south.
Atlantic slave trade, colonialism, and apartheid were designated as a flagship priority of our union. In line with that decision, I was entrusted with the mandate to serve as African Union champion for reparations. This is not merely a title, it's a solemn obligation to pursue truth, recognition, and justice for our ancestors and for generations yet unborn. At the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025, I announced that Ghana would lead the effort to table a resolution declaring slavery and the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime against humanity. That commitment marked the beginning of a structured diplomatic and legal process. I directed the Minister of Foreign Affairs to establish a high-level committee to coordinate consultations, refine the legal framework, and prepare a draft text consistent with international law and diplomatic practice. Today, I'm pleased to report significant progress. The initiative is firmly grounded in international law. Slavery is prohibited under international law as a peremptory norm, a jus cogens principle from which no derogation is permitted. The resolution builds upon this legal foundation and rests on 3 pillars. First is historical accuracy, second is legal defensibility, and third is continental and diaspora alignment. We've ensured that the text of this resolution reflects rigorous scholarship, moral clarity, and diplomatic credibility. Ghana has undertaken extensive consultations to strengthen the resolution. We've engaged with the ECOWAS, we've engaged with UNESCO, the Global Group of Experts on Reparations, the Pan-African Lawyers Union, academic institutions, the African Union Committee of Experts on Reparations, and the African Union Legal Experts Reference Group.
And finally on the program, thousands flocked to gardens by the bay in Singapore on Sunday for Reparations 2026, the Chinese New Year festival, which also marks its 40th anniversary. Visitors wandered among glowing giant lanterns, tossed coins for luck, and sampled treats along the bustling Pasar Malam food street. Nightly stage performances included traditional Chinese dances and a rare Malay performance highlighting Singapore's multicultural spirit. Festival goers praised the vibrant atmosphere. They say it's one of the best places to celebrate with family and friends. Others enjoyed interactive installations and spectacular fireworks. The festival features 14 to 16 massive lantern installations, including a 20-meter God of Fortune and a galloping into the year of the horse scroll, carnival rides, live music, and a special 40th anniversary exhibition tracing the festival history since 1987.
And then just like walk around at night and enjoy the breeze, you know. It's like none other like it. I really like the Malay performance because it was quite rare to see like Malay performance at Chinese festivals, and I think the cross culture we have in Singapore is really unique, and it's so nice to showcase it here.
It's really nice, it's really cool, but I feel it's a little bit crowded tonight. There's so many people, but I love all the decorations and the setups. It's really nice.
And that's the world today. Thank you for watching. I'm Satlat.